Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, the 13th of August, 2024, 2025 even. My God, just fell through a wormhole in the space-time continuum. My name's Graham Hughes. You're watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. And before we get into the news of the day, the news and views with Graham Hughes, we'll be saying hello to everyone in the chat. Not everyone, the names that are sticking out. We've got Diz in there, got Paula Thomas, got SG, got Vendetta, Diz Witchygoth, and we've got Lost Missionary, Ivan Ambrose in the chat. Hi, Ivan. We've got Graham in the chat as well. Different Graham, not me. Different Graham H. And someone was saying it's wrong. Was this Plum Duff says, missionary, I know it feels wrong, but he is wrong. Yeah, okay, good. I thought you were going to say, I know it feels wrong, but it just feels so good. Also, we've got Veg Pie saying, I just watched a YouTube clip of Assume yesterday's James O'Brien LBC program called Trump Thinks War is Zelensky's Fault. He does indeed, because he's an idiot. Well, he's a useful idiot for the dark forces that are swirling around the people like Peter Thiel and Vladimir Putin. This whole thing with, in Washington, D.C., the capital of America, where they're bringing in the National Guard. Yeah, that's step one on a plan. That's a widely publicized plan that these lunatics have, the tech bros, to create freedom cities. Yeah. I wish it was a tinfoil hat wearing lunatic in my parents' spare room, going nuts about the fact that all these evil people running the world are trying to screw us all over. But no, this is reality. This is literal reality. No tinfoil hat required. It's all a bit grim, really. And meanwhile, the people who normally go hell for leather for this sort of thing, oh my God, do you know what they're doing? Do you know what they're doing? I've got some secret information that no one else knows. They're all suspiciously quiet at the moment, as if they kind of want it to happen, as if they want the tech bros to take us all over and destroy everything we know and love. But yeah, before we get into that, the first thing I was going to talk about today is the Labour Party and its action on Palestine Action. This is really looking like it's going to not necessarily derail Labour. They're scoring a lot of own goals at the moment. And I think prescribing Palestine Action as a terrorist group without actually explaining to anyone why, and then saying some vague things about, they did some property damage, which they did, and they should be charged for that property damage. There are laws in place to do with property damage. No group in the UK has ever been prescribed as a terrorist organisation for wrecking stuff like property. Thing is, in the Terrorism Act of 2000, yes, there is a provision in there to say it doesn't have to just be a terrorist act against people. It can also be against property, which is why my brutalist action network never took off, where we were going to take out all those ugly buildings and build beautiful things in their place without having to ask anyone's permission. But the idea that being a terrorist group has something to do with threatening property damage alone is madness. I mean, it always felt like that was sort of tagged on to the fact that, obviously, if you intend to do harm to humans, there's a good chance you intend to cause property damage as well. And the human side of it was the main thing. But the maddest thing is, at the weekend, over 500 people were arrested. And I don't like it when the protests become the news story, especially with the horrors that are going on in Gaza right now. And I would rather the protests raised awareness of the crimes that are being committed by the Israeli authorities in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. However, unfortunately, the news story this weekend was that 500 people, over 500 people, were arrested for not being part of Palestine Action, but for like being on the side of them, which is weird to me because I seem to remember in Northern Ireland there being unionist terrorist groups that are prescribed as terrorist organisation. And every year I see people marching down the streets. Was it July, is it, when they go and they burn the big bonfires and they march and in support of the terrorist groups with banners supporting the terrorist groups. None of them are arrested. If you're going to have a law, you have to apply it equally. You can't just use it when it suits you. It's not how laws are supposed to work for any government, for any jurisdiction, for any country. So, I mean, Palestine Action is a direct action group targeting companies who are involved in supplying arms and components to Israel. Their methods involve sit-ins, blockades, and vandalism of facilities. They're non-violent. Nothing in their setup speaks of committing violence to anybody. They've disrupted operations at sites owned by Elbit Systems and linked to other Israeli military and others linked to Israeli military hardware. And some view it as non-violent civil disobedience, which, to be honest with you, I do, until I see evidence otherwise. I'm with the Royal Society on this, on nobody's word. Like, show habeas corpus, show me the body. Show me the body. Show me, okay? Need to see it. So, some people see it as non-violent civil disobedience. Others point to property damage and alleged assaults. Now, we don't know enough about the alleged assaults, but this timeline was that in July 2025, just last month, Parliament voted to prescribe Palestine Action under the Terrorism Act. The motion passed with Labour support, despite internal dissent. Only 10 MPs, Labour MPs, and 3 Labour peers voted against it. Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, she claimed that the organisation was not non-violent and that evidence couldn't be shared due to ongoing cases. Right, okay. So, I mean, all right. Let's give the government in this situation for 1 second, right? Stay with me on this. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. The people who were protesting at the weekend don't have that evidence. They don't know. They haven't been shown these court filings, the court case. Maybe it'll come out in years to come. But for the government to just say, right, you can't protest in favour of this particular group. And if you do, we'll arrest you, even if you're a 83-year-old granny. First of all, it's a bad look. But secondly, I mean, it's the biggest mass arrest in the 21st century, for Christ's sake, in this country. But even, I mean, it beggars belief that the police are happy to do that. And yet, when Farage and his far-right boys and Tommy Robinsons of this world go out march and they don't all get arrested. They're supporting terrorism. They're trying to terrorise people who don't look the same as them. Thank God we don't all look the same as them. They all look like a bunch of bloody bully beef that's been beaten to a pulp. Anyway, the idea that you can't protest something and we're not going to tell you why you can't protest it goes against any kind of normal moderation on this. Come on, it does. Like, meet me halfway here. Like, that sounds mad to me. Maybe say, yep, you can protest against Palestine Action being prescribed a terrorist group. That's fine. You can also protest against what Israel's doing in Gaza, which is fine, which was the same thing that Palestine Action were doing, but in a different way. But let's be clear. The people in Parliament Square, they weren't breaking in to RAF Bryce Norton. They weren't disrupting, they weren't vandalising anything. They weren't trespassing. They were protesting peacefully, and they got arrested. What kind of message does that send? It's just, does anyone have the other side of this? Because I really just don't get it. I really just don't get what is going through Yvette Cooper's head on this. If it had been me, right, and I'm Yvette Cooper, imagine that, and news had come onto my desk, and it says that they've been making, threats against X, Y, Z, and there's a court case going through. Can't say that is. Okay, fair enough. And I might be tempted to share that with my fellow MPs and say, look, we really need to prescribe this as a terrorist group. Okay, fair enough. Like I say, I'll meet you halfway. But to put people in the cells for the night and giving them a criminal record for going out and peacefully going, hey, hang on, what? I mean, first of all, it's stupid in that it makes a bad situation worse. But secondly, it's like a mockery of democracy, because how can you tell people not to protest? And then when they say, why can't we protest peacefully? They say, well, we can't tell you that. You just have to trust us. Can you see my problem? Can you see if anyone could push back on this and explain why I'm dead wrong? And I'd like you to, if you can. Just say, no, Graham, you're talking bollocks. You don't understand. But, Peter Hain has spoken out about this, and he says that the government's digging itself into a hole, which it absolutely is. I couldn't agree more. This is an anti-apartheid activist, Peter Hain, and he's also a former cabinet minister. He's equating Palestine Action with Al-Qaeda. He says it's absolutely wrong, which I agree with, and devalues the meaning of the word terrorism. Because here's the thing. Terrorists terrorize everyone. Like, after 9/11, everyone was scared to get on a plane. Everyone was scared. Like, the world had been terrorized. The world had successfully been terrorized. Whether you were in New York or not, whether you saw it happen with your own eyes or not, people were terrorized. People were scared. Of Palestine Action done anything to scare me? No. Scare the country at large? No. And if they have, we don't know about it. So, okay, fine. Like I say, if you've got the evidence and there's a court case going through and you can't talk about it because of legal reasons, I get that. I completely get that. Fine. But first of all, I think maybe there should be a different rung. We have like Al-Qaeda terrorism, and then we have something else, which is not quite as bad as terrorism, but it's still pretty bad, Comparing it with like ISIS, I just, no, they just no. So, I agree with Peter Hain on this. I think it undermines the word terrorism and what it truly means. But the other side of this is like, the daftness of this all is that the people who were protesting at the weekend were not breaking the law. They were just protesting, that's all they were doing. But because of this weird loophole that says if you protest in support of a terrorist organization or the terrorist organization's aims, and I'm thinking, aims? So if someone goes out in Northern Ireland to protest for a united Ireland, you can arrest them because those aims match up with the IRA. What was the IRA? Crazy. And this presents legal challenges that are going to embarrass the government further. They should just let it happen. They should have just gone, all right, you got to protest, that's fine. We can't tell you why you can't protest, so we're not going to arrest you for protesting. How about that? Because you've got to be reasonable here. You've got to meet people halfway. You can't just go, right, not allowed to do that. Why not? We can't tell you. If someone asks me, why is murder wrong, right? Why is it against the law, right? Well, because it's, problematic. And I can explain to you why if you want me to. Why is stealing against the law, Graham? Because it's problematic. You know, for many people, why is all kinds of things are against the law. But if you can't even explain why this thing that you're doing is against the law, what do you think is going to happen? Do they think that they're going to put the genie back in the bottle? We're going to arrest all these people and then people will stop supporting Palestine Action? No, it's going to make more people get their backs up. You know what people are like. You push someone, they push back harder every time. That's just human nature. People react. And you know, it allows people who might be, you know, on the fucking terrorist side of the spectrum to you know, draw parallels and say, oh look, you know, we're just like the suffragettes, and you can't really argue with it now. You know, anti-apartheid. You know, fighting apartheid in America and in South Africa was illegal at the time. Anti-fascist movements were illegal in fascist countries. And this is just, I just think this is blowing up in Labour's face. Like, what was it? 532 arrests. Oh, before I go on. Oh, Alistair, that is so kind of you. Alistair has gifted 10 Politics Social memberships to 10 very lucky people who are just watching, or maybe in the chat. So you are now all members. So first of all, thank you to Alistair. Thank you, you're the best. And welcome, new members. We have got Alrone07. We've got GM Lovely. We have Yaxi Deer, Captain Coconut, Tag HG Keen, Glass Robot, Na Elk or Nalik 00, Lauren Quagley, Hazel the Poet. Hello, Hazel. And Hypnoticist. Thank you to Viper Scott 1, Alistair, for giving all you gift memberships. And let me say, you know, welcome, new members to the channel. You will now gain access to the Discord server, which means that you can keep the conversation going after the show has finished. If you wanna. Keir Starmer is supposed to be a human rights barrister. I suspect he's forgotten his roots, says Chris C. It is just weird, isn't it? The age group gets me, says L. Half over 60s, isn't it? Yeah, I was about to come to that. I'm wondering if they are making excuses to single them out. My point is walking sticks. They may be treating them as if they're carrying a weapon. I just think that was the people who turned out. I just think that was the people who turned out and the police went, we're going to arrest all these people. Neo-Nazis marched down the street screaming about killing immigrants. Oh, and they're just left to it. Might get a knock on the door in a few days' time. But, you know, talk about going for an easy target. Oh, so Alistair, not content with gifting 10 Politics Social memberships. Fiber Scott has just dropped a £5 fund into the Super Chat. First Super Chat of the morning, I think. If I remember rightly, last time there was this amount of arrests was the poll tax riots. March riots, Graham. Yeah. I think it was that far back. 532 arrested. Half of them aged over 60. Many of them retired professionals. This prescription has alienated Middle Britain supporters who would normally not be involved in direct action. And there's a lot of unease across the backbenches of Labour. Stella Creasy has admitted that the MPs who backed the ban must be clearer about the evidence basis. But I mean, look, even if it is startlingly clear, I think that these people who are arrested should be released. I mean, they've all been released by now, I think, but you know that they shouldn't have any kind of their rights should not be infringed in any way. They should not have a blemish on their criminal record. They should be given compensation for the fact that they were arrested at all. The government needs to get on top of this, because what is the fucking point? Like, seriously, like, what is the point? They're arresting old people for protesting peacefully. I just, you know, the same parliament that tolerates far-right intimidation is cracking down on pro-Palestinian activism. How does that look? How does that come across, do you think? Am I just alone in this, thinking that this is I don't think I am by reading the comments. Are we alone in this? This is mad. I can't see anyone going for this. I can't see anyone going, yep, great idea, wonderful. I keep seeing these interviews with these Labour MPs just squirming on television, absolutely squirming, because they can't respond to this in a way that makes them look like they're doing the right thing. Politically, I don't think it's going to become Labour's Iraq war moment. I don't think it's as big as that. But for younger activists looking at this, going, is that the party I want to be part of? And the legal risks, like I mentioned before, the terrorism label could be struck down in court. Palestine Action is taking the government to court at the moment for calling them terrorists. And that would be humiliating for the government. And we talk about the 1990 poll tax marches and riots. But this goes back to the 1980s. This is like nearly 40 years ago. 40 years ago, isn't it? The Battle of Orgrave, like the police repression of miners' strikes and anti-apartheid protests. These were eventually discredited. I think the same thing is going to happen here. Labour's going to end up with egg all over its face. They should have said, let them protest. They're having a peaceful protest on College Green. Who gives a shit? Parliament Square. It's like, who gives a shit? Just let them. Just let them. And this is a strategic blunder. It gives Palestine Action martyr status and reinforces the narrative of state suppression of the wrong kind of dissent. So if your dissent is against, I don't know, brown people in this country, that's okay. But if your dissent is against brown people living in other countries being murdered, then that's out of order. And Keir Starmer, former human rights lawyer, involved in some very high-profile cases back in the 90s and 2000s. This is the guy who went around the world convincing governments to back all the death penalty. Where's he gone? Where's that Keir Starmer gone? Like, what's happened to him? Has he been... Is the black mould got to him? Has J.K. Rowling's black mould got to Keir... Is that what's happened? I don't know. We had a discussion last week with Phil on Friday, talking like, is this time for Keir Starmer to go? And I've always been like, nah. And Phil's argument mostly consisted of who's going to replace him. But the main thing is, like, I'm thinking now is, like, I can't be the only one going, this man is making mistake after mistake after mistake. And I just can't see him turning this around now. He's just like, everything he does, it's like, he steps forward and he steps into a massive cowpat, and then he steps forward again and into a second cowpat. So he's standing in two literal cowpats. That's your trainers, that is. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. It's as if the government is trying to do Corbyn's recruitment job for him. Yeah, absolutely. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I'm not on the same page on this. I take a hard line. I will not be intimidated by anyone in the chat for doing so. I will always defend myself and be true to myself. That's okay. I presume then, Ivan, you think that it's sorry, I'm halfway through on this. I haven't read all of the comments. It's hard to keep up while I'm talking at the same time. Can you just elaborate on that a bit, Ivan? You don't have to drop a super chat in. Just do an Graham Politics and just can you just elaborate on your harder line on this? Because like I say, I'm willing to meet the government halfway on this and say, well, if they have evidence that Palestine Action should be a terrorist group, fine. But people protesting right now when the case is still going through court, both the Palestine Action case, which is to say whether it's a terrorist organization or not, and also the cases of intimidation or whatever it is that we don't know about, they're still going through court. I think that at the end of that process, if the allegations are upheld in a court of law and that they lose their appeal and they are prescribed a terrorist organization and we know exactly why, at that point, I think that, yeah, okay, if you go out in support of that particular group, then, yeah, we might have to have words. However, until that happens, we're in a grey zone at the moment. If if 500 people want to turn up in Parliament Square and say this is wrong, down with the sign of the thing, careful now, in a peaceful way, I have no problem with that. I don't think the government should have a problem with it because I think it's a really, really bad look. Although, playing devil's advocate with myself for a moment, maybe this can open the door to the justification of just arresting every motherfucker who turns up to see Tommy Ten Names speak, or maybe even arresting Nigel Farage, who has supported terrorist states like Russia, a man who also put out false information about the killer of the little girls in Southport last year. Put out false information that led people to go out on the streets and attack asylum hotels. Maybe he could be arrested under the same mentality. He's an old man. I'm just seeing if Ivan's just chipped in there. I really see reform government coming up if this continues, says Hilgara. Labour need a fucking firework under them. Seriously. Colin Baker, Labour are trying to play on Refuck's turf, and it could help Frochter's company by driving voters to Corbyn venture. Your party. My party? No, your party. Who's on first? No, who's on second? Nobody has said anything to me today, but when I have sided with Phil, not on disability benefits and mental health, as evidenced the other day, on this, some people got really aggressive towards me. I'm sorry to hear that, Ivan. So can we make sure that in the chat, everyone's respectful of each other and each other's opinions? Sorry, Ivan, I thought you were talking about what I was talking about today. I'm sorry that happened, and please, can everyone in the chat just try and be a bit sensitive when it comes to mindful, I should say, rather than sensitive, mindful when it comes to debate. Just don't no ad hominems, please, and try and keep it to the spirit of what we are set up to do, which is to talk about politics in a safe and inviting environment that it isn't transphobic and it isn't homophobic and it isn't ableist, and we try and get through what's happening in the news and still stay friends of it, still stay friends at the end of the day, which isn't always easy, but I understand that. Okay, thanks, Ivan. Dave says the focus should be on the MOD for allowing bases like Bryce to become so badly lax on insecurity, not on Palestine Action. Yes, Dave. Yes, indeed, mate. Yes, indeedy do. No one's really talking about that. Like, I mean, if they've been Russian agents, Viper Scott, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. England has lost its right to peaceful protest, in my opinion. You have sleepwalked into it, Graham, as I said, in my opinion. I don't think we've sleepwalked into it. I mean, a lot of us were talking about this when the previous government were bringing in these disgusting anti-demonstration acts. They brought in a particular proviso against Steve Bray making too much noise, like to make an act of parliament, part of which targets one man, is just fucking cuckoo. But you're right, Alistair, and I mean, as far as you're concerned, I'm sure this is probably a good thing in the long run, because it's going to make people in Scotland go, do we really want to be part of this crazy fucking place down south where they keep doing stupid things? And then I agree with you, Phil. Ivan, don't take it as a slight, says Sean. I really disagree with Politics Social about hydrogen. I'm waiting till I get the evidence to pounce, says Sean. Oh, good luck with that. I tell you, is it going to come in 10 years, Sean? Is it? Just wait 10 years and it'll be here. Let's wait for the fucking bus around here in Durham. When's the hydrogen turning up? Is it about the same time as the nuclear fusion reactor? Disagree agreeably. I like that. Thank you, Diz. Disagree agreeably, please, chat. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, once you've dug yourself into this kind of hole, the government, if you're listening, like, stop digging. Just stop digging. I don't know. Just this is really blowing up in Labour space, and I just see it as a strategic blunder. and reinforces the narrative of state suppression of dissent. Okay, so let's talk about the next thing I wanted to talk about this morning. There's a few things that I've turned up this morning. So there's police are going to reveal suspects' ethnicity or nationality in high-profile cases. I was filling out a form for the Panamanian government yesterday, and it asked me my skin colour, and it made me distinctly uneasy. And this is obviously a document that was Spanish that had been translated into English for me. And what it meant was like ethnicity, which is something that we have to fill out and we don't think about it, but having to write the word white really just stuck in my craw. I just thought, oh God, why is this the same? And I understand because they were asking me my height, they were asking me my hair colour, my eye colour. I get it, it's a descriptor of what people look like. But at the same time, having to write it just said skin colour. What is your skin colour? And you're like, fucking hell. I'm doing this for to go to a country that is, or do something in a country that is predominantly not white, where white people are a minority. And I'm not concerned about it though in that way, because I know that at the end of the day, the world is entirely racist against people who aren't white more than anyone else, even though those people are absolutely in the majority. They're like 85% of all humans on the fucking planet are not white. And this is why you see all these lunatics saying, oh, you got to have lots of babies. These white people running around. They're going, you have lots of babies. Everyone have lots of babies all of a sudden. People made fun of Catholics for having so many kids. Yeah. Irish population still hasn't rebuilt from the potato famine of the 1840s. Jesus Christ. Still not recovered. But yeah, apparently Catholics have lots of children. Anyway, so yeah, it made me feel a bit uneasy. And I find this is again, this is going to be a contentious issue. It's a two-edged sword. I can see to an extent both sides of the argument here, right? I would prefer that there was no ethnicity taken, right? And that you commit a crime, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you get a fair trial, and if you did the crime, you go to jail, right? If you're from another country and we can deport you, you get deported, because that's what will happen to me if I commit a crime in another country. Generally speaking, I get deported back here. And so part of me doesn't want it, but then there's the other side of it, that if we don't monitor the how many people are employed from different racial backgrounds or different abilities, different social backgrounds even, you're going to have a glut of rich white kids who do everything, which is kind of what happens. I know that there's people who aren't white who are doing quite well, but nearly all of them were born rich and went to Winchester or Harrow or Eton or what's the other one? Was it Ambleside? No, what's the one that what's the one that James O'Brien went to? Ampleforth. I went to Ampleforth. Went to B-Dale's old chap. Yeah, so I understand it from that point of view. But the reason why the government's having to do this is because the newspapers keep putting out stories, which I'm going to come to in a moment, that are just absolute bullshit. They put it on the front cover of their newspapers, screaming that 1 in 4 people from other countries are coming to kill you and your children. And it's not true. They have twisted police statistics. They've taken things out of context. They've removed important metrics and to get the result they wanted. They've twisted the statistics. Lies, damn lies, statistics. As Mark Twain is apparently recorded to have said or written. I don't know. So this new guidance, right? So it's been issued by the NPCC. It's got Home Office backing. Police are going to be encouraged to disclose ethnicity, strict nationality of suspects in high-profile or sensitive cases. The goal here is to reduce misinformation and restore trust. The trigger events here are the Liverpool, when the Liverpool football team came back with the cup. The police and everyone was out in the street. They won the league, and everyone was out in the streets. And some fucking idiot, motiveless by all accounts, like we still don't know why he did it, panicked. I think he was off his tits on cocaine or something. That's a rumor. I don't know. And he drove into a bunch of people. And the police quickly confirmed the suspect was white in order to quash terrorism concerns, rumors, and possible backlash. And we saw this in the case of Southport a year earlier, when the police didn't release the suspect's background. This fueled false rumours, which was further fueled by the likes of Andrew Tate and Nigel Farage, who, using information given to him by Andrew Tate, a man who is on trial in 3 different jurisdictions, Romania, the UK, and the US. He's wanted in 3 different jurisdictions for abusing women in some way. This man, for abusing women, this is, and Farage is now, and Tice are now saying, we're the party of protecting women. We're the party of protecting women. As if before people were coming over in boats because they can now, because that's what the change in the law that was brought about by Farage's Brexit allows them to do, right? That the crimes against women have suddenly skyrocketed. They haven't. They were fucking insanely high back in 2015. Back in 2015, before people were coming over on boats. It's an absolute nonsense. Most of the grooming gangs that you hear about are white. The majority. I know there are some of Pakistani heritage, but the majority are white, because the majority of people in this country are white. And what they'll do is they'll do a stat like this. They'll go, oh, there was 1 murder in this little village, and there's only 60 people living in this village. It has the highest murder, 1 in 60. It has the highest murder rate in the country, if not the world. Because the murder rate for the rest of the country is 1 in 100,000. But in that little village, if you draw a little circle around the village and say there was a murder there, you can say 1 in 60 people in that village are murderers. And statistically, yeah, you're kind of correct. But in the larger scale, it's bullshit, fearmongering, nonsense. And this is exactly what they're doing with these statistics. They're saying, oh, well, 1 person from Malawi has been charged with this, and we've only got 60 people in the whole country from Malawi, so 1 in 60 people from Malawi are murderers, have done something awful, and they're skewing the statistics. So this is a kickback against that. Yvette Cooper has said that more transparency is needed. She's argued about stopping misinformation before it spreads. I get that. I completely get that. However, whenever someone does something bad and they are from an ethnic minority, the right wing are going to pounce on it. I don't know what the answer is. If you know what the answer is for this, please let me know in the chat. I'll try and read as many as I can. This is a really difficult subject, because what do you do if you tell people that this person that's done this thing is the person that they suspected it to be all along because it was someone who wasn't white? Then you're endangering. You're in danger of fomenting far right riots and bullshit violence, prejudice, everything else. And there is this worry that the far right will weaponize the ethnicity or nationality disclosures to fuel xenophobia, and there's also the risk of inconsistency. Will all white British subjects always get the same treatment? We're saying that this is only going to be in high-profile or sensitive cases. So who decides? And as the ex-Metropolitan Chief Superintendent Dal Babu warned, he said, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think he's absolutely right. I really don't. This is a tricky issue. I'd like to hear your comments on it, so please throw them into the chat. I'm going to read some of them now. My God, it's impossible. Is it possible that the far right get platforms because it's better telly? We are fucked. Yes, it is. That's exactly why they do it. That's why the Lib Dems are the third biggest party. The Lib Dems are currently the biggest third party in British history, I think, in the history of British politics, and especially in the modern era. When it's been Labour Conservative governments over the years, and they got the biggest third party, and we hardly ever see them on TV. There was who was talking about this? don't know if it was Rory Stewart or something, but they were talking about the fact that it was the news agents. They were talking about this, and they were saying if Ed Davey, the leader of the Lib Dems, stood up and said, "We're going to make an announcement, so come to see my press conference," no one would turn up. No one would come to that. But Nigel Farage says, "I'm going to make an announcement." They all fucking flock there. All the journalists, like moths to a flame. Here's a funny one for you all. Remember where migrating me from? Remember they were migrating Joanna from ESA HB to Universal Credit. Well, it was supposed to be done. I got notification that I was receiving other benefits. Continued. Oh God. Turns out when ESA was stopped, they registered me on New Style ESA on the basic amount. So I'm still getting ESA. Can't they do anything correctly? Nope. You make a system really fucking complex so people don't bother getting involved, so people don't claim the money that is owed to them by the government. And then you get people who, the people who are supposed to be in charge of making sure there's an incredibly complex system that is bespoke for every single person who gets the benefit, and you've got to work it down to the micromillimeter. You're gonna get a lot of mistakes. You're gonna get a lot of mistakes. You're gonna get a lot of wastage, which is a daft way of doing it. Daft way of doing that. Sorry, Ivan. If Ivan, I'm trying to find out what Aqua Davis said. I can't find Aqua Davis now. Okay. Well, in weather like this, I'm normally brick red. When it's cold, I'm sort of bluish. Sorry, Ivan. I don't know where that conversation is. But I can, yeah. If everyone can treat everyone with respect. Captain says, same here, Joanna. I have to go to offices and explain again that I have a chronic heart condition. That means it gets worse over time, not better. I'm sorry to hear that, Captain. It's mad that you've got to explain it. Joanna says, worst of all, they couldn't even get the letters correct. I got a letter saying I was moving from contribution-based ESA to New Style ESA. I was on legacy income-based ESA. They like to make it simple, don't they? Nice and accessible for everybody. Do you think it's the same people who design the interface for Apple products who design the interface for Universal Credit? Moonwolf, an answer could be that if someone in power makes a claim that flies about a case, they should be arrested for contempt of court. Ooh, Moonwolf, I like it. Moonwolf, that's a good call. I like that. Yeah. Also, it could end with Farage going to jail, which would be excellent. Joanna says, I did ask what was going on Friday, and no reply yet, so I can only assume they don't have a clue either. Jesus. I'm sorry, Joanna. Sorry, it's such a fucking rigmarole. That is why we need press regulation, because parliamentary privilege is abused by the right under free speech. Absolutely, MHK. Another thing that we desperately need is press regulation, and Labour seems to be dragging their heels on that. SG, there is no solution. People have been given the permission to go back to revealing their true bigoted selves in public again, as in the 60s and 70s. Allow isolated release of suspects' ethnicity only when public order or safety is an issue. Common sense, not bureaucratic dogma. That makes sense to me, Green Seer. It all got worse with Brexit, says Mr. Tisk. Can't disagree for a second. Sean says, I got a £1,600 council tax bill as I had two benefits, £120 a month council tax payment, but now it's £4 a fortnight. Crazy. Moonwolf, it's worse if you're a student claiming universal credit. You have to keep sending your documents to prove stuff they already have. Fucking crazy. I mean, look at the political context here. This all comes amid Conservative and Refuck attempts to tie crime rates to immigration, and all the tabloids are helping them out because they all went to school together and they're all part of an old boys club, and You may as well call them the Masons or the Illuminati. Doesn't matter. It's a group of people who all have a set agenda, and they know what the agenda is. It's to screw over the little guy. And hello, just like hobbits, we are the little guys. It also plays into a broader sort of tough on crime optics for Labour, and it could end up becoming de facto racial profiling if not handled consistently. So let's look at one of these claims from the Tory press. This is something that's been widely reported in the Times. The Gammon owned what's his name? The Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch, who just won't seem to fucking leave us. Jesus Christ, will you fuck off, mate? Will you fuck off already? As they say in Australia, will you fuck off already? That's a terrible Australian accent. I won't do that again. Reported in the Times, Daily Express, GB News, Mail Online that small boat migrants are 24 times more likely to go to prison than British citizens. And Chris Phil, the Tory MP and scumbag, says small boat migrants are more likely to commit serious crime and are a danger to the public. And there's certain problems with this data. First of all, the prison data, March 2025, was compared to the 2021 consensus population figures. These are already out of date because of given migration changes. And the figures on foreign nationals in jail used as a stand-in for small boat arrivals, right? There's been no separation between legal and illegal entry. So you could have come here on a visa and committed a crime, and you'd be included as someone who came over in a small boat. You could have come over on a jumbo jet and landed in Heathrow and gone through passport control and worked for many, many years in this country. And you commit crime, and suddenly you came across on a boat over the channel. You're like, no, I didn't. Asylum seekers who didn't come in boats as well, who, part of the backlog, but also people who have got their asylum seeking claim signed off, people who came before 2017, before there was people coming over in boats. And they've been here for years, and if they committed a crime, they'll be included in the people who came over in boats, even if they didn't come over in a boat. Work visa holders, so if you were from a country and you came over to work with a work visa that was issued by the UK government, if we really wanted to control migrant numbers, we just don't issue any visas. That's it. You just say, well, you can come and visit. You come for a holiday, but you can't stay and work. We don't do that. We issue work visas because we have certain sectors like hospitality and care where we need loads of people. The NHS, we need loads of people to come over from other countries to plug the gaps that we have. There's huge gaps. And so, even tourists were included in these figures. So people who come over here and committed a crime while on holiday, while on the jollies, someone who'd come over here just to go and see Big Ben and committed a crime somehow, were included in these figures. So people who come across on the boat. The supposed 3.4% figure for small boat migrants is a guess. It's not an actual measured rate, and most foreign nationals in custody aren't convicted criminals. Some are on remand, some are for immigration-related detention. And also, one of the other things they do with these figures is they say, "Oh, look at all the crimes that have been." Look at the crimes, and they assume that it's one crime per person. But as often happens, if you get arrested for a crime, it's not just generally one crime. So if you get arrested after crashing your car and you've been drink driving, you might also get done for driving without due care and attention. You might also get done for driving without a license. You might get also done for driving without insurance. So you've got 4 crimes there. It's not 4 different people. It's 4 crimes. But what they did with these bullshit stats to give everyone a scary cover of the newspapers is they said, they're coming over it, they're committing all these crimes so they could get their bullshit out to people. Full Fact has looked into this and said the claim is absolutely not reliable. It's impossible to calculate conviction rates for small boat arrival from the current data that we possess. There's no evidence that small boat arrivals are more or less likely to offend than other migrants of the same nationality. And the Ministry of Justice have admitted that they don't collect immigration status arrival method for prisoners. So this is a guess. They just hazard a guess. They've looked at black people, they've looked at brown people, and they've gone, oh, they probably commit crime. Got no evidence for it, but it's a fact. Did you know that paedophiles have more DNA in common with crabs than they do with other human beings? Wow. It must be true. I just said it on the telly. Unfucking-lievable. This is classic fear-mongering, obviously. Vague, unverifiable numbers, unverified and unverifiable numbers presented as fact to demonize a group. And it plays into the far-right narratives that immigrants are criminals, which they're not. In fact, the majority of people who come to this country are less likely to commit a crime because they know that if they commit a crime and they're not a British citizen, they can be deported back from whence they came. And it's another reason why natives in the UK, people born here in the UK, cost the taxpayer more because they're more likely to have their schooling paid for by the taxpayer, also have all their hospital stays and any injuries they have paid for by the taxpayer, but also they're more likely to get in trouble with the law. People who are born here are more likely to get in trouble with the law, and therefore things have got to be paid. Okay, so I'm going to read this from Ivan. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ivan. I'm sorry this has happened. This is awful. Trigger warning. A friend of mine lost his son last week. He took his own life due to continuing failure of NHS mental health services. Here's something to put to people who are laid back on Labour's on mental health. Yeah, Ivan. It's really... I'm sorry that happened to your friend, and that must have impacted you massively. I've been in similar situations plural, as that in the past, and it is horrific, and it's why I take mental health services very, very seriously. And I feel like this is something that Labour have said. They've said they're going to step up on. They've said they're going to step up on it, and I'm yet to see them step up on it. They really, really need to get going on this. And also, we can't shy away from the fact that Labour caused undue mental duress to disabled people up and down the country when they announced they were going to steal £5 billion from them. Just turning up in town with a big gun and saying, right, we're going to take money from all the disabled people in town. And then all the disabled people go, no, please don't do that. And obviously you get, that would impact your mental health, wouldn't it? And then they turn around and go, oh, sorry, they unload their gun. Sorry, everyone, it was false alarm. Not really going to take all your money. Have a nice day. Bye. 2 months later. Maybe they just can't see the damage they're doing. Maybe the two in the Westminster bubble or whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know why some MPs in Labour are behaving this way. Thankfully, there are some other MPs who are, kicking them and saying, "What are you doing?" But yeah, just to go back to what I was saying. Thanks for the super chat, and I'm so sorry, Ivan. I'm so sorry. It's so shit. I just want to mention about. I just want to finish off this point about why this matters. Media complacency. This is outlets repeating claims without interrogating the methodology with impunity, and it's why we need reform, why we need press reform. We need Leveson too. Desperately we need it, because otherwise we are going to fall into authoritarianism, because you're going to fuel the far right rhetoric, you're going to fuel what we want people to think, and that's going to be helped by the tech billionaires like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, also the billionaires like Murdoch, who own half of our media. And people might only read the headlines. They might not read into it. They might not see the retraction on page 36 in 17 weeks' time. So, yeah, it is... It pisses me off no end that they can do this and get away with it. Okay, so we're going to head over to the papers now. Oh no, I clicked my finger and it didn't appear. Do you know why? It's because I was showing you things on Google Maps yesterday, and it's still directed. The URL is still directed to Google Maps. That's why it didn't come up. Fun story. The Times here Last exit for Brooklyn. See what they've done there? Because it's like a sign. It's like a sign when you go into New York and there's a sign that says last exit. And Carol Midgley, yes, a Labour minister wants you to be beach ready. Suntan cream, a big umbrella, a big parasol. Chinese company could take over struggling Thames Water. Ministers are preparing to take Thames Water into temporary public ownership in a rescue that could pave the way for it to be sold off to... Am I reading this right? Am I going mad in my old age? It does say that, doesn't it? In the top corner there. Sold off to a Chinese infrastructure company. WTF. WTF. Wow. And then we've got channel boat migrants arriving at record speed, and we have a picture of people who have come across on a boat. Migrants wade into the channel off Gravelines near Dunkirk yesterday in an attempt to board a boat to England. Yeah. This is what happens when you turn your back on the EU, which had a deal in place that meant you could take anyone coming over in a boat back to France. You took that away. This is what happened. This is what the Brexiteers voted for. If you voted for Brexit, you voted for this. Well done. And coffee eases daily grind, but only in the morning. Forget the lunchtime espresso. A study suggests coffee's mood-boosting properties are limited to the first 2.5 hours of the morning. Imagine being part of that research study. The same picture or similar picture is being used here on the front of the Mail. Also, we've got Sarah Vile saying, "What my broken ankle on a night of misery in A&E taught me about the NHS. Fuck off, you're rich. Pay for your own accident and emergency." Oh no, hang on. We don't have private accident and emergency in this country, do we? Yeah. Oh well. You're going to be stuck with the rest of us. I tell you what, why don't you pay your fucking taxes? Why don't you get your clique, your class, to pay for their fucking fair share? How about they get to pay the fair share, and then we'll all have a better NHS. You'll have a better NHS as well, Sarah. Why didn't you do that? Anyway, it's not our fault. Ministers tried to blame yesterday the small number of small boat migrants reaching Britain. They blah blah blah. They were blaming the Tories. Yeah, what's happening as a result of the last government? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely happening what's a result of the last government. Fucking around with this daft Rwanda scheme that they blew hundreds of millions of pounds on. Like, no, just, yeah, in a way, it's not Labour's fault, but in a way, it is, because if Labour had put up more of a fight against the Tories, we wouldn't have left the EU. Oh, it's a flagship Tory policy. I don't know why we need to fight that. Trump is a horror story, says Stephen King. He absolutely is. Treasury targets inheritance tax rises to plug growing a UK deficit. There, we've got Kyiv vowing not to give up land for a ceasefire, and small boat crossings hit 550,000. We've got No Way Back after second wedding fury. I don't know what that's about. I don't care. Dry alert: emergency plans to tackle drought after 50-year low. Drought conditions could last until the middle of October as scorching summer dries up reservoirs and rivers. And since we privatised the water, we don't actually have any, more reservoirs. We got rid of 5 of them, I think, and not built any. But Bowles says, sadly, this was consequent when Starmer removed Dr. Alan Khan from the mental health brief. That's true. I agree with you on that. Sean says, I would have preferred Labour to do a few things very well, not everything all at once badly. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Graham is speaking into it. What? Mike, what? Am I not coming through? Hello, computer. Lately, it's been feeling that all the freedoms we now enjoy are slowly but surely starting to vanish and are approaching something similar to the times the game Homefront, the Revolution. Maybe. In America right now, the Supreme Court is being told that they're going to have to make they're going to be given an opportunity to ban gay marriage again in America. It's down there, and then people go, no, it won't happen. And they always say that until it happens. Like it did with Roe versus Wade. Like it did with the abortion decision. That was reversed. Yeah. So you're going to see states in America that are going to, I guess, say that gay marriage is no longer legal in their state. Gay couples who are married in those states, I assume they will give up their rights as a married couple. They will also have to give up any children that they've adopted or that they've fostered or that they've had, maybe through surrogate. Yeah, really fucking grim. And it's because we haven't got control of the media. We haven't got control of social media. We've allowed it to be the Wild West. And what happens in the Wild West? Bad people turn up with guns and shoot the fuck up everybody else who looks in their way, who looks at them funny. And that's the situation we've had on the internet now since 1995. We've had no controls on the internet. It has been the Wild West. People have been able to do anything. And pretty much get away with it. 99% of them. I know one person gets caught now and again doing something naughty on the internet, but the vast majority of people get away with it. Now social media came along, people get away with it. AI's come along, people get away with it. Nothing put in place. Nothing put in place to protect people. When they try and put something in place to protect people, they put in an age lock so you can't access porn on the internet from the UK, and everyone just goes and gets NordVPN or Surfshark. Although VPNs are available, I just really, really grim. Really, really grim. Okay, so bungling hit woman in niqab faces life. A hit woman flown in from the US to shoot dead a stranger as part of a family vendetta failed when a gun jammed. Bizarre murder plot there on the front cover of the Metro. We've got oh god, here we go. It's a fucking Telegraph. Here we go. I hope this paper. What bullshit's in the Telegraph today? Well, let's have a look. We've got 1976 and all that. Old school ways to survive a heat wave there. We've also got families face fresh inheritance tax grab. Reeves considers limiting value of gifts that can be passed down before death. Good. Tax the rich. Only rich people have to pay inheritance tax. 4% of the population have to pay any inheritance tax whatsoever. Fucking tax them. They get £1 million tax free. £1 million. It's like winning the lottery. Do you remember people used to win £1 million on the lottery? Or who wants to be a millionaire? And it was life-changing amounts of money. Yeah, they get that from their parents tax free. And they have to pay tax on what they get over that £1 million. And they're whinging like you would not believe. Because it's all the same privately educated motherfuckers who write these papers. So there you go. Same picture of people running. Just a shit version of Chariots of Fire here. And then we've got it is public's job to tackle shoplifters, says police chief. The public has a duty to stand up to shoplifters rather than relying solely on officers. Oh, that's going to end well, isn't it? Honestly, if I saw someone robbing stuff from a shop, I'm not going to fight them. Why should I? It's not my shop. I'm sorry, but like, fuck off, police officers saying, you know what, we shouldn't be making citizens of the vest. No. Don't empower fucking Dudley Do-Rights and... No, not Dudley Do-Rights. I guess they would. They would do it. I mean, it's just empowering Karens who are like, oh, you're going to steal that. Because what's going to happen now if he says that? What a stupid thing to say. I'm getting really angry about just reading that. What a stupid thing to say. You're going to have someone who's a trans woman or a black person in a hospital, in a supermarket, and some horrible, nasty little sour-faced bigot is going to go, I think they're stealing stuff. I'm going to get them. So sometimes I go into the supermarket, right? And I go, oh shit, I've forgotten my bag, right? But I might be wearing this. I might be wearing my little waistcoat, right? And this has got like, I don't know, I've never counted them. I think it's got about 18 pockets in it. So I might pick like a bottle. I can pick a bottle of wine up and put it in this pocket here. I'm not stealing it. I'm just holding it in my pocket till I get to the till and then I can take it out. But I'm pretty sure I only get away with that because of this. Because of this stupid face and this stupid skin colour that doesn't tan, just burns. White, burn. Lobster. White, lobster. I'm sure that if someone saw someone who's an ethnic minority doing that and they were a little Karen and they went, oh, you should put something in his pocket. He just put something in his pocket. I'm going to get him. You know, what are you going to do? Fucking rugby tackle him to the ground? What a stupid thing to say, police chief knobhead. Matthew Barber, tit. Labour signs 1 million people off work for life. Oh, God. I just hate the Telegraph. It's just such full of bullshit. It's like a bullshit emporium, isn't it? It's like someone rolling some kind of the Victorian kind of machine that turns around and just pumps bullshit out of it. Like a big horn, bullshit. Turn the handle, pump out the bullshit. Labour signs 1 million people off work for life. Labour has put more than 1 million working age Britons onto the jobless benefits that do not require them to look for work. Okay, so do we have 1 million people who are long-term disabled? Yep. Okay, cool. So they don't have to look for work because they're long-term disabled and they can't work. Yeah, cool. What's the problem? Well, they're not going to work. Yeah, that's fine. We live in a society. We look after people who are less, who are less privileged than ourselves. By privilege, I mean, I can walk. And then Clarkson joins rural revolt against Vance. Didn't see that coming. He's joined the backlash, and he said Vance's trip has completely sealed them off from the world. Yeah, well, there you go. High security holiday has interrupted the filming of Clarkson's farm. Does he ever stop whinging, that man? God, he can whinge for Britain. Oh, actually, he does. 12 reasons why Britain is still a country to be proud of. After all that, after the Telegraph telling us how terrible things are, there's still 12 things to be proud of. I hope Morris Dancing is one of them. Staff can now down tools in heat under safety plan. Workers will be allowed to down tools during heat waves under health and safety plans brought up by regulators. Bin men, builders, and other doing manual labour will be able to demand extra protection during hot weather. Yep, HSE. Yep, I don't want people to die. Yep, I don't want people to work themselves to death in the heat because they feel like they have to. So yes, good. It's good news. Britain warns Macron over Ukraine talks. Just here above my head. Britain officials have urged EU leaders to stop an unhelpful running commentary on looming Ukraine peace talks between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Oh, okay, whatever. I'll shut up then, shall I? We've got the Daily Star here with a really, really important story. New match of the day stars vow high standards after Lineker era. We won't gob off like Gaz. Are they keeping Sharon Davis as a presenter on the BBC because she keeps gobbing off? Oh, hang on. So if you gob off in support of refugees, that's a bad thing, right? And you should be off the BBC. But if you gob off to be horrifically transphobic and bigoted and a misogynistic, I'm trying to think of a polite way of calling her a name, but basically I fucking hate her. She's a ridiculous, privately educated, of course, tough woman who came second in an Olympics that only had 2 fucking teams in it. And she's been bitter about it all her life, and she takes out that bitterness on trans people. She's just not allowed to work on the BBC. No matter her political opinions that trans people should be erased from everyday life, which seems like a bit of an extreme position to be taking. A bit more extreme than maybe we should be nice to people fleeing war, which doesn't feel extreme at all to me. Seems like something that, I don't know, Jesus said 2,000 years ago, if anyone still listened to him. Unsafe waters, rising arrivals add to stresses. Migrants attempt to board a smuggler's boat, planning to cross the English Channel off a beach of Gravelines. How's that pronounced, Gravelines? I mean, it's French. So Grovelines. Yesterday. Arms factories expand at triple speed as Europe switches onto war footing. I was reading about this morning. An insane amount of weapons production at the moment, which is quite frankly terrifying. Genuinely terrifying. Radar reveals historic rearmament, 7 million square meters of development. Russian aggression has spurred this shift. The arms developers are happy. They've all been paid off by the Russians probably to, make all, well, they're paid off. Maybe they paid off the Russians to cause all these problems in the first place. So we can have a nice fight. That's nice, isn't it? Always nice when they fight. And finally here we have Altman goes head to head with Musk in startup linking brain and computer. So there you go. That's it. Linking brain, and you're not linking my fucking brain to a computer. I'll tell you that now. I'll tell you that yesterday. So, moving on, we're going to just quickly go to your chat here. Scouse Thief says, Supermassive Wayne. Cheers for that. Yeah. He's woken up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, hasn't he? He's woken up on the wrong side of the milk flows. Lost Missionary says, they can't take extravagant dreams away from us. Oh, yes. Totally can't. Plus, you never see a nipple in the Daily Telegraph. Clarkson gets a pass when he whinges about Brexit. Yeah, but I mean, he didn't whinge about it enough at the time, did he? I wrote to him asking him to, but he fucking ignored me. And then we've got Hate the Kunzberg and Mason. Yeah, understandable. Later, Scott. Cheerio, my friend. Did anyone stay up to watch Alien Earth last night? Very good, but only managed one episode of 2. Sure, no, I'm hoping to watch that today, actually, but we are doing some more shows, which I'm going to come to in a moment. But before I do, I'm going to say thank you to Ivan for the £5 super chat. Thank you very much. I'm all for heat protection on laws, workers, but builders, but let's not forget about self-employed workers who are builders, etc. Yeah, okay, I agree, but if you're self-employed, I should imagine that if you are feeling too hot, you can take a break because you're self-employed. Whereas people who are employed and have certain hours and certain goals that they've got to clock off, or they don't get paid, I think they're in a slightly more precarious predicament, if you know what I mean, speaking as someone who is self-employed. So yes, and Chris Philp has been online this morning. It's 5 a.m. and I'm walking along the beaches to see many illegal migrant boat launches, including yesterday. I can't see any French police here. Why aren't they patrolling this launching point? It's negligent. Well, I mean, why wasn't he doing this when he was fucking minister? I just, yeah. He's there over in France patrolling beaches, apparently. Whinging about the French police not doing enough to stop people from coming over to the UK, which is a legal thing for them to do. Trying to stop people getting on boats. Musk linking his brain to a computer would result in something like the drug-addled freak cyborg in RoboCop 2. I'm hoping that will be that the when they were attempting to make another RoboCop in RoboCop 1, and the guy comes out and he takes his helmet off and screams and dies. That was fun, wasn't it? So 1 o'clock today, my friends, we are treating you to a brand new show here on Politics Social. It's going to be called Reform Watch UK, and I want you to join me and Ollie Bowler Hatman while we go through all the shit that's only really published in the likes of the private eye that the fuckers have been up to over the past few months. And we're hoping to make it a weekly show. We'll probably have to move around the time slot till we find somewhere that we're both sort of comfortable with. We can get away with it today because there's no PMQs. So 1 o'clock today. So go away and listen to James O'Brien if you want on LBC, and then join us back here on the Politics Social channel at 1 o'clock today for the very first episode of I want to call it Refuck Watch, but I know I shouldn't. Reform Watch UK, and we'll be discussing what they're up to. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to shine a light on those motherfuckers and give you some ammo. When someone says, I'm thinking of voting for Refuck, you can say, well, actually, have a look at this and show a little clip of me and Ollie talking about what crazy shit they're doing. Ms. Paula Thomas, the arms production expansion is terrifying, but the alternative is worse, I'm afraid. I mean, there is another alternative. To use the weapons we've got to just stop Russia. Put Russia back in its box. Put Russia back in its box. And something that I think we should do. I really do feel like a concerted effort. All the countries of Europe who are willing, so everyone but Hungary, I guess, get them all on board and go out tomorrow night and just bomb the shit out of the Russian front lines. Get out of Ukraine. You've now got 48 hours to remove yourselves. Bye. That's it. The ultimatum. Don't do anything in 48 hours. Brilliant. Don't forget that Russia don't have air supremacy. They've got ships in the Red Sea that have been blown up by a country that doesn't have an AV. They can rattle their sabers about having nuclear weapons, but they haven't got fucking working tanks. So the chances of them having multi-billion-dollar rockets. I just can't see it, mate. I just can't see it. So, yeah. Show them you mean business, because you've got to stand up to a bully. You've got to stand up for a bully. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I will never have time for Clarkson. Brexit doesn't come into it for me. It's his physical violence and how he personally talks about individuals, including vulnerable and marginalised people. Yeah, he's a fucking scumbag, mate. He's a fucking scumbag. What I meant when I was saying, I wrote to him about Brexit is because a lot of his followers are meatheads who would have voted for Brexit, so it would have been really helpful for him to have made more of a stand against it at the time, but he didn't. I'll be listening to the Scottish take on the paper reviews, a worthy listen. English viewers, that'd be good. That's from Ruth Guthrie, who I assume is going over to, is it Truck Davy, is it? Who does it? And Deform Watch says, Thomas, I want to call it Refuck Watch, but then I want to get people who don't normally watch this channel to join in as well eventually. So yeah, I'm going to go away now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for the super chats, really kind, especially Ivan. That you've given a lot this morning, so thank you very much for that. And I just want to say thanks for sticking with this channel through thick and thin. I know that our timings and everything haven't been completely on the ball, and we've missed a few episodes here and there of our regular shows. Part of that is because I've been traveling. Part of that's been because of illness. But hopefully we will be getting more back onto the sort of normal schedule next week, I hope. But I am, just so you know, I will be going to Liverpool next week. There's a few reasons for this. One's a good reason. One of my friends is having a birthday party. That's a good reason. And then there's a very, very bad reason that I've got to go as well. So I'll be in Liverpool all next week. And yeah, so if you want to continue watching, that'd be really, really marvelous of you. And I'll try and be a bit better. I mean, like, well, not just better at presenting, but also better at not being ill. And yeah, and get a bit more sleep. That'll be good as well. So yeah, apologies for the. I feel like the standards on the channel have slipped a little bit, and it's been nobody's fault. It's just circumstances. So I'm going to try and get it back up to that high standard. But fair warning, I am planning to go away again in September. I'll be in Canada for a couple of weeks in September, and then at the end of September, I'm going to Panama for a couple of weeks because I've got some legal things that I need to do over there. So yeah, so I'll be doing Mystery Brew, 1 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock your time, 8 o'clock my time in the morning. And yeah, please stick with us through that, and then because it never ends, I'm going to be at the Labour Party conference in Liverpool at the end of September, literally flying back from Panama straight to the conference, literally on the same day. And I'll be reporting from the conference. And this year, I've actually bothered to buy myself a SIM card that should actually work, so I can broadcast live from the event itself. So please join us for that. The Two Davies show. Thank you very much, Scott, Viper Scott. Alistair has put the link in the chat there. So if you want to go over and watch that now, you are very welcome to do so. And until 1 o'clock, come back and we'll do Refuck Watch together. And I will try and get the name. I'll try and get the name right before the end of the show. And until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.